we're just committed to exceptional quality. And, that's how we began, and that's how we've continued. And
I want a good show, damn it. Ready for a good show?
Doing awesome, yeah. I'm excited to talk to you, Angie. Thank you for having me.
Yes!
I've always been doing big into archery, and my dad said, hey, you guys want to start an archery store?
Yes, that's how it works.
Andrew, yes, of course, let's do this together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the E-Comm Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the E-Comm Show. I'm your host, Andrew Maff, and today I am joined by the amazing John Down, who is the CCO over at Christopher Norman Chocolates. That is your Chief Chocolate Officer, so this is going to be a delicious episode. John, how you doing, man? You ready for a good show?
great, Andrew. Yeah, what a pleasure meeting you. Thank you very much for having me. This is a new experience for me.
Oh, yeah. Hey. First time for everything. This is going to be a great time. I'm super excited for this one. I love CPG brands. I've worked with, I don't even know how many at this point, but chocolate's awesome. So super excited to learn a lot about that side of it too. But I think you know, because I know you've listened to a couple of podcast episodes. We were talking about that for a little bit there. I like starting them off relatively stereotypical. Just tell us a little bit about your background, obviously how you got started over at Christopher Norman. We'll take it from there, okay?
Great. Good. Just my partner Joe and I began in Christopher Norman Chocolates in 1992 in New York City, and my partner was his background he was an agent for opera singers, and I still am a visual artist, painter, and anyway, I had made chocolates for one of my events, and somebody had brought chocolates from Paris and from one of the fine chocolate boutiques there. And then someone there from Japan were chocolate connoisseurs. And so I just, for fun, made chocolates for it. And everyone's like, wow, where did you get these? And anyway, that's kind of how it started. And then I was just making them at home in my kitchen. And then all of a sudden, the New York Times was interested in writing about it, and this and one thing after another. And so we got a space downtown just off the Bowery, and it was just one thing after another. And then, we did a chocolate show at one point, and then Martha Stewart came with her entourage and kind of zeroed in on us. And then I did a segment with her, which really started to help catapult the business, and then it just, it sort of just kept growing exponentially. And then we had all the top accounts in New York from Dean and DeLuca, and then department stores like Saks and Bloomingdale's and Bendel's, and just on it went. And so we were sort of at the right place at the right time, and kind of before the chocolate boom, which was, I don't know, a bit later, I guess the early 2000s. So we were kind of on the ground floor and had all these wonderful accounts. And then it just then we started. We had then we had to move downtown. Actually, what we did is we participated in the redevelopment initiative of Lower Manhattan after 9/11. Mm-hmm. And so we actually found a space beside the New York Stock Exchange, a couple of doors down, and it was 4,000 square feet. And so we did the build out and had this jewel box of a little store, and then the factory setting and offices and stuff like that. And then I guess just before that, when we did the build out off the Bowery, it was initially my painting studio, and then I moved that to 14th and 9th, which wasn't too far from where we lived. And so I had that going, and then the factory going downtown, and yeah, it was just great. It was pretty exciting, and then we started our website. Well, we started before we moved downtown, and that's just got us going, and then around that time too. With all the accounts that we had, across the states and so on, I had an exhibition of my paintings in Tokyo, and then there was somebody said, "Oh, this is the guy who makes the chocolate." Anyway, one thing led to another there, and then Japan became our biggest market outside of the States, and then we worked with Marubeni, which was about the largest trading company in Japan, and that sort of morphed into working with another more kind of boutique trading company, and then because of the shipping and the cost of everything, we entered into licensing agreements, and so they started making the chocolates in Japan. And that was kind of a nice setup, but and then they would come over, and we were in Japanese magazines and Japanese TV and all kinds of stuff. And then I was invited to participate in a chocolate show there, and they gave us an award for my efforts of making chocolate paintings on site.
Oh wow!
I know, it was amazing. It was just something, and then that sort of turned into a little gig with Hermes, the luxury brand. So they were opening a new flagship store in Tokyo, and they commissioned me to do 6 large chocolate paintings. And
Wow.
I know it was like, okay, what next?
Yeah, as you say, you. I don't know if it's your delivery or if it's just accurate, but it seems like a lot of this stuff has just kept coming your way, and it's just been pretty nice that it's just basically the quality product is kind of selling itself. Am I right?
Yeah. I guess when I just for an example, when I did the design for our chocolate bars, I guess that was let's see, in the early 90s, whenever, and I've kept the same design, and it's sort of a timeless look, it's kind of classic, but they're really colorful, and the packaging's really colorful, and at that time a lot of the sort of chocolate packaging was gold or brown or kind of blue or something, but so when I came along, and with my artistic background, I sort of had a different bent on the packaging and as well as the chocolates. And I started doing the hand painted chocolates, and that sort of took off in a kind of an exciting direction. And then I guess as I'm going to be 66 in August, and
Happy early birthday.
but I guess there was one article that came out that referred to me as the grandfather of the New York chocolate school.
Wow.
But anyway,
nice.
it was really exciting, and we had a wonderful staff, and it was, it wasn't that big, but we had about 10 employees, and then let's see what we I'm trying to think what happened after. Oh, I know. Like the other thing too that sort of was a bit of a problem with the business moving downtown was, there was so much construction going on post 9/11 that it was hard to run the business, just with all the construction trucks and this and that and so on. But we made a go of it.
So that's amazing. I mean, the PR that you've had over the past 20 some odd years is amazing. Like, I know I've got a bit of a list here, but you were mentioned through Oprah Winfrey, Food and Wine, New York Times, Bon Appetit, Vogue, Martha Stewart, Anthony Bourdain, Gourmet, Newsweek, CBC. I mean, this list is like nuts. So what would you say is like the biggest differentiator? Chocolate is an incredibly crowded space. Like, it is wildly difficult to break out into that space. So you've got to have some element that is either you were a first mover or you've got some kind of differentiation behind it. So what would you say is the big difference of your chocolate versus your competition?
Well, there, like you say, it is a very crowded space now, but and there's many people making really, fabulous chocolates. It's
Yeah.
and but I guess like for the number of us that are, I guess, at the top tier, if you want to say, we're just committed to exceptional quality, and that's how we began, and that's how we've continued, and as far as all the press goes, it's just, well, being in New York, it's kind of the, media capital of the
Oh yeah.
world. So, we sort of had that there, and we were doing something really, unique at the time and unusual, and like hand painted, kind of Fabergé eggs, and all with, kind of filigree and designs and different things. I made them, well, for instance, the Forbes magazine. Well, Malcolm Forbes had a big Fabergé collection, so they wanted me. I did a Fabergé egg for an article in Forbes, and then there was a magazine in Australia, like a fashion magazine, and they asked me to do something along those lines for them. So I did. I sort of used the coral reef there as an inspiration. So the eggs were sort of covered in dragées and kind of coral colors, and then other ones were tiny little fish that were blue and green, and so you didn't know what it was until you sort of looked at it and go, "Oh my God!" Yeah.
That's amazing. Like I've done so much work in the CBG space. I've worked with a lot of like snacks and chocolates in the past, and like it's not easy because it's, no one wants to be the first one to try something online. They typically want to try it in retail, and then it's a matter of how do you get them into retail. And so obviously you had a great brick and mortar business, but so now you're no longer in New York though. You're in Canada, right?
Yeah, yeah. On
What
the
happened?
sunshine, on the Sunshine Coast, not too far out of Vancouver. It's an interesting kind of um, geography in that it's on the mainland, but because of the mountains and the fjord inlets and so on, there's no road to get here. So we take a ferry from Vancouver, and it's about a 40-minute ferry ride. And then to get to our place is about a half-hour drive up the coast. And it's just this extraordinary setting. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so we have an acreage that kind of has a steep driveway we get up to, and there's a perch, and we overlook the Salish Sea and Vancouver Island, and it just goes on forever. So it's really nice. And then we built downstairs our chocolate atelier, so it's no longer 4,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah. So I'm still. At one point in New York was big. The staff, most were making the chocolates. I would do some of the supervision, but we had a head of the kitchen and all that, and then people doing packaging and the enrobing machines and everything. And so now, I guess I'm sort of semi-retired. I didn't know I'd be making chocolates this long, but yeah. So I'm just doing it, and I have someone who comes in and helps with the packaging and some of the social media, which I'm not so good at. I think it's a generational thing, right?
Yeah.
And but yeah, so we have our reach is pretty small. We sell in Vancouver and Victoria, Toronto, and then of course our website. We get orders from the States and Canada. So that's pretty much. We don't get orders very much anymore for overseas or Japan or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's just a small little boutique business, but it kind of has had a big footprint at one time.
Yeah. I was gonna say, so like obviously, you're, as you mentioned, you're semi-retired, so you're kind of what's the plan with the business now? Is it you're gonna kind of let it run its course and just
Well,
eventually close it, or
actually,
what's the thought there?
so just because of my background being an artist, I still paint. I have this wonderful studio, a couple of properties over,
Hmm.
um, that it's a 2,500 square foot cinder block building that's 2 floors in the forest with this incredible view, right? So
Wow.
I paint there, and I've shown in, well, New York and Tokyo and Venice. Um, uh, where else in Italy? Florence, and I'm in collections sort of around the world of it. So that's a big, that was my sort of first passion, and still is. And so the chocolate company kind of started, and it was like, oh, well, that could be my day job, and to support my life as a painter. And because when I first moved to New York, I was working at one of the galleries, and that was exciting, and I met lots of great people, but I'd always been self-employed, and this sort of opportunity presented itself. And so the goal was kind of to build it up and sell it, and then, kind of retire and well, live as an artist full time.
Yeah.
And things kind of didn't go that way. Uh, and it was kind of fun, like when we were doing the chocolate bars for Kate Spade, or stuff for Martha Stewart, or the Guggenheim Museum, Metropolitan Museum, whatever. There was all these people with these mega businesses around. And he thought, yeah, well, maybe that'll happen for us.
Yeah.
And anyway, it didn't. But it's what I mean, in a perfect kind of scenario, I'd love to, train some young people and have them take over the business. That would be a nice situation, because
Hmm.
it is a good little business, and with some young energy, they could come in and take it back and past even where it was before.
Yeah. That's a
So
very good point. So your revenue mostly coming in now. So you mentioned you get some sales coming in through the website every now and then. Where else is it coming through?
so wholesale, mostly to gourmet stores and boutiques. Um, the wineries up in the Okanagan. There's a new account up there, and and I'm not. We used to do a lot of private label as well,
Hmm.
and we're not doing that right now. Um, so yeah, it's just retail stores and the website. And funny enough, so I knew this chocolate guy in San Francisco who Michael Ricciuti, and he started out about the same time I did, and he used to do the farmers markets in San Francisco, and he was like, "Yeah, I do." And anyway, then that turned into having a shop at the Ferry Building, and having this wild successful business that he had. And I had never. Well, we did the Christmas markets at Grand Central and things like that. A few holiday markets, but I'd never done a farmer's market. And up here, every Saturday, they have this wonderful farmer's market in the little town from here. And they last week they had over 1,700 visitors for this little tiny town on the coast.
Wow. That's big for a
and
farmer's market.
it's really fun. Not only the vendors fun, but a lot of tourists come here because it's
Hmm.
kind of it's a tourist location,
Yeah.
and everyone's just like, oh my god, it's like, oh, Christopher Norman, what are you doing up here? And it's amazing how many people we've met that know the business from New York.
Yeah. How did Christopher Norman? Your name's John. Your partner name's Joe. Where'd we get that from?
So my middle names are Christopher Norman,
Oh,
and
all right then.
and
That makes sense.
John Down Chocolate doesn't sound very whatever, but Christopher Norman sort of has a nice ring to it, and
That makes sense.
and I sort of wanted to kind of keep it separate from my life as an artist.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
but yeah, it's. yeah, it works for a chocolate company, I guess.
Yeah, it does. No, I completely agree. I
Yeah.
like the name. I was just like, wait a minute, that's not lining up.
Yeah.
Ton of sense. But either way, John, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you have a ton of chocolate to make, which is awesome. Cool,
this is
coolest
great.
job in the world.
Yeah.
Really appreciate having you on the show. I'd love to give you the opportunity, let everyone know where they can find out more about you, more about Christopher Norman, and of course, more about your art as well.
Yeah, I forgot to include my link to the website, my art website, but it's just johndownart.com.
Easy
Yeah.
enough.
And well, listen, this has just been great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem. I appreciate you being on the show. For everyone who
Okay.
tuned in, of course, thank you as well. Please make sure you do the usual rate, review, subscribe on whatever channel you prefer, or head over to the ecommshow.com to check out all of our previous episodes. But as usual, thank you all for coming, and we will see you all next time. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to the E-Comm Show. Head over to ecommshow.com to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on the BlueTuskr YouTube channel. The E-Comm Show is brought to you by BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing company specifically for e-commerce sellers looking to accelerate their growth. Go to BlueTuskr.com now for more information. Make sure to tune in next week for another amazing episode of the E-Comm Show.